And welcome back, Rio Grande Guardian viewers. Great to have you back. As always, we never have anyone but a special guest, and that's certainly the case today. Mario Reyna, who is coordinator for the Prosperity Task Force. Mario, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I enjoy being in your program. I know a lot of people enjoy everything that you do, so thank you so much.
A word of warning, this could be a long conversation because I know for a fact the Prosperity Task Force is doing a lot of things these days in so many different sectors.
Yes, we are. We are, and obviously you and your news organization is a fantastic vehicle for us to inform the public what is going on in all the activities of the Prosperity Task Force. So we thank you for being part of this process.
I'm going to start, if I may. The first question is going to be probably the most difficult one, the one that's causing a lot of angst in the community. A lot of the groups that joined the Prosperity Task Force within the sort of healthcare umbrella, that sector of the task force. I've been privileged to be on some webinars that you've organized, and we've heard from lots of nonprofits, lots of clinics, lots of groups that provide healthcare, that provide that safety net that we've all become accustomed to in the Rio Grande Valley. And there's a number of those groups, if not all of them, that have got, well, perhaps not those that don't rely on federal funding, but a lot of them do. So the last couple of webinars I've been on, tremendous anxiety over federal funding cuts in Washington. What can you tell us about that, Mario?
That is the case. You know, just to set the stage, if you will, in what we refer to as the Rio Grande Valley, there's about 180,000 jobs that are federally funded. I'm referring to, for example, Border Patrol, ICE, all the schools, and all the cities and whatnot. So for every governmental job, according to the estimates, they create 2 additional jobs in the community. So it doesn't take a lot of calculation to figure that out of those 180,000, you probably have 300,000 jobs associated with the federal government. And then when you think about this region, there's only 630,000 jobs in the region. And just based on what I told you, you can see the impact that the federal government has. And we're just talking about jobs. We're not talking about what they spend in the local economy, supplies and services. So it's very significant. So when you talk about hospitals out in the smaller communities, for example, like Starr County, they depend a lot on Medicaid. And if the cuts that they're talking about get implemented, then all those small communities are going to be without any care. And they're going to have to travel 40 or 50 miles to their bigger city to get that care. So that's one significant areas. And, you know, some Republican senators out of Missouri, for example, they don't want this. They say, hey, you cannot do this because you're going to impact a lot of those communities. And I'm in particular, this individual that you would never think about being against this budget. He's saying you cannot do this. This is in Missouri. And no one is saying anything about Texas, but Texas has a lot of, obviously, small communities that depend on Medicaid. And so if they do that, then you're going to have what they're calling like medical deserts. There's no one there to take care of those individuals. That's just one component of what they're talking about. The other component of what they're talking about is what they call like Section 8 in housing. And they're talking about doing like a 43% cut. So imagine what that does, you know. So and when we talk about the cuts, so yes, the cuts are directed at people that are not able to provide for their needs. But at the same time, you have to figure out that those funds are going to people that are providing those services. For example, in Section 8, they rent. if they don't get the Section 8 funds, then they can't rent. So who are they also impacting? They're going to impact, obviously, the broader economy. And so when you talk about 43%, that is significant amount of dollars for the entire Rio Grande Valley. So yes, it's going to hurt the people that cannot afford those services, but the people that provide those services are also going to be impacted because they're not needed anymore. So it's going to have a significant impact.
And you put those webinars on and invited all the groups that have happily and really wanted and been eager to join the task force to say, look, we can add value to the judge. And we should say the Prosperity Task Force was set up by Hidalgo County Judge Richard Cortez with the aim of reducing the level of poverty in the county. So these groups join you, have happily joined the task force, and then they're contacting you as the coordinator and saying, can we have a conversation about this? We need to tell you what's happening so that we can tell the community what's happening.
Absolutely. So we talked about Medicaid, we talked about housing, and then the other situation is an organization called Community Service Agency under Hidalgo County also, and every county has a similar operation. So according to the latest proposals in the budget, they're going to do away with them. So what do? Well, they provide utility payments for people that need help. They provide other incentives to send people perhaps to school, perhaps if your car breaks down, perhaps in the winter they provide heaters. So yes, if that gets taken away, yes, it's about $12 million. But those $12 million go directly into someone else in the community. So that someone else, being electricity, being whatever other services that they buy, they are going to be impacted also. And then, you have the food bank that provides a great service to the community. They're also being impacted because from this supplemental nutrition process that they have. So when you cut all those things out, not only are the people that need those services going to be impacted, but the people that provide those services will also be impacted. So when you have a situation that you have a 20% poverty rate, you can start to imagine what's going to happen if all those cuts come into play. The jobs will be impacted. You probably remember the conversation with the Boys and Girls Club. They're talking about 33 jobs. It's just the Boys and Girls Club. So the jobs are going to be cut throughout the different kinds of programs that are involved with the Prosperity Task Force. So when we started the Prosperity Task Force, we wanted to bring, obviously, greater prosperity to the area. Now the situation is everybody's trying to figure out how to continue working in this environment if the funding gets taken away. So the situation is a little bit different now.
Yeah. So the judge, as we all know, likes to look at the big picture. He's very much a visionary, and he set up this task force with the aim of reducing poverty. It was one of his top issues when he was elected 8 years ago. He couldn't really implement his ideas while COVID was with us. So he wins a second term and he starts to address it here. Has he looked at the numbers and determined that safety net that's always been here in the Rio Grande Valley over the years, this reliance on the federal government to help because of our socioeconomic situation, has he determined yet that the percentages, the bar chart, the graphics are going to start going the other way again? That all this time the aim was to reduce poverty, but it's actually going to go up now?
If the budget that's being discussed right now, obviously that will take place. But I think that is a concern. They're having a heck of a time right now at the Senate level, trying to figure out how this budget is going to work. I mean, I think it is important to say that the budget originates at the OMB, Office of Management and Budget. Then it goes to the Congress, then it goes to the Senate. So they all have to agree. So right now they're having a hard time agreeing on what's going to happen. But I think if whatever happens, it's not going to be as it was originally out of the Congress. But I think all the groups that are involved with the prosperity tax, they have to figure out how this is going to look after whatever is decided on is going to be implemented. So everybody's very concerned. But the prosperity task force continues going forward. And I think we invited you recently to a discussion of manufacturing clusters. And so we brought some people from San Antonio to tell us how...
You're gradually, subtly moving away from the doom and gloom to an issue where there's great opportunity for our region, correct?
Absolutely. So the idea is always to bring greater prosperity. And the best way of bringing prosperity is by telling the world that we are prepared to take on additional jobs. And one way would be to have a manufacturing cluster where all the organizations that are involved in that segment can participate and discuss issues and concerns amongst themselves. So this is part of the Rio Grande Valley, and so San Antonio has a 400-mile radius. So if we go into perhaps a 400-mile radius, we can reach San Antonio, and we can reach all the way to San Luis Potosí in Mexico and capture all those activities that are going on. And I think it's important to know that here in the Rio Grande Valley, we have SpaceX. And that is a major, they do their own manufacturing there. So it makes sense that we should do a manufacturing cluster. And Ron Garza from UTRGV is looking into this. And we're going to have more discussions, because not only is it important that we do this, it's also important to tell the world that we have a cluster that can support whatever manufacturing activities they bring into the region. So that is something very important that's happening right now.
So when you brought those leaders from San Antonio down for that meeting, that group, that manufacturing group, was under the auspices of the Bexar County Commissioner's Court. It surprised me when I saw the PowerPoint presentation that the Valley initially wasn't on there at all. And that is surprising, given just how many manufacturing jobs there are in Reynosa, Matamoros, allied to the auto industry. But San Antonio had left out the Valley all those years ago when they formed this. And now they've come down here and said, we're going to start including you.
But what happened is that I went to visit them last December, and because I wanted them to come and visit us. And when I looked at their reports, I said, why is our star not illuminated? They had Laredo very highly illuminated. That they were not a particular a good response. But it's really up to us here in the region to become more engaging with the clusters. You can have all kinds of clusters. Right now, we're thinking about manufacturing, but this is obviously a very an area that's concentrated on logistics. So we should probably think of those things also.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, San Antonio has this cluster. It runs from Dallas through San Antonio, through Laredo, all the way down to beyond Monterrey, I think even including San Luis Potosí. Your response, the task force response, working with UTRGV, is to say, we'll form our own report. We'll do our own study of the cluster we have. It may be automotive, but it will also be energy. It'll also, and you'll have something to show site selectors, to show potential investors in our region that this is the scope of our activity here. And you won't be reliant upon San Antonio's map.
Absolutely. Because when you can show someone that people are interested in the topic, and we should be very interested in this particular subject, they have an automotive cluster, which is fine. But I think the idea here is that we make it a little bit broader to include all the other activities that go on, especially with SpaceX. So those conversations are going to continue. Something will be formed that we can officially inform the world, if you will, that we have our own people interested in manufacturing clusters, and then RioPlex obviously can go out and promote this kind of activity.
So can I ask, has Ron Garza, on behalf of the university, accepted that challenge of creating such a document?
He and I have talked, and he wants to take on the challenge, but we're all going to help. So I think it's no secret UTRGV is a very, very influential organization in our community. So it probably makes sense that Ron do this, because he's involved with economic development, and this is going to be another tool for economic development. So I thank Ron Garza and UTRGV for being such a great support in everything that we do.
Okay. Next subject then, as you bring up the subject of the name RioPlex, the last activity that we reported on was that incredible conference they held up in Houston, and you had all those foreign consulates offices from around the world participating, coming in and learning about the RioPlex region. How are things going with that? What sort of follow-up has there been? What sort of feedback has there been? And what is RioPlex doing right now?
So RioPlex is an evolving organization. It's probably not even a year old yet. And we're going to have our first official meeting as the board tomorrow at 4 p.m. But we still continue to develop promotional materials that are being placed in social media. Some people want to be part of RioPlex, and they want to provide services for that membership. So we are talking to people involved in marketing that will provide a service to help us promote RioPlex. So we have a branding company that's going to help us. We have a SEO operation, search engine optimization operation that they're going to provide service for membership. We have a person that does podcasts, very influential in the region, that wants to do something similar. And then other people are wanting to do something similar.
Of a certain media group that wants to be part of it.
I understand that there's a media group that is going to be at the galaxy level. So we thank them. We'll make all those names known very soon. But so we're very thankful that there's so many individuals that want to be part of this. A very prestigious architectural firm, ERO, has joined us, and so we have put that out there in social media, so people understand that, and others are coming on board. So that's for us. It's extremely exciting. So we have four levels: the galaxy, the planet, and there's something else called the star. And so we have four different levels, and so we're letting the public know, and they're selecting whatever level is appropriate for them. So that is ongoing right now. We're promoting the levels of membership, because RioPlex is almost like a chamber of commerce, and the only way it's going to operate is by people becoming members and paying a fee. We're not going out to the governmental entities and asking for money. So the business people are saying, we want to be part of this. So up to this point, I think it's fair to say that we have collected probably about $180,000 in membership fees in about 3, 4, 5 month period. It hasn't been very long. So this is something that's very important for the group to do. So we're doing it right now. The other thing that's happening, organizations are calling us, and they have come by to visit with us, and so they're very enthused about it. They want to come and make an investment in the region. So we'll see how that goes. But I think once we start to promote this a little bit more outside of the region, then it's going to have a greater impact. And I'll tell the story. Some time ago I wrote an article, and you published the article in the Rio Grande Guardian, and some individual read the article in Torreon, Mexico. So that individual called us, and so we talked, and so they're interested in moving here and setting up what they referred to as a global capability center. And we're still having conversations. It hasn't gone away. And once they finalize a few legal items, then they'll make an announcement. But that's something extremely interesting that people probably don't know how powerful your newspaper is, that people read it from all over the place.
Yeah. I don't wish to brag at all, but I could tell you a similar story about investment from China and New York over the years, because we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. But that's similar stories, similar situations have been told to me about investment opportunities coming our way because of our coverage. And that's been seen in both China and New York, for what it's worth. But we'll take Torreon every day of the week.
Absolutely. So the people that are watching us from wherever you may be, this is the right place to come and make your investment. I think we have plenty of well-qualified and educated individuals that can take on whatever is brought over to us. And I like to brag about SpaceX, because 80% of the people that are at SpaceX are folks from the Rio Grande Valley. So if anyone is watching, they should pay attention to this, because we can take on anything.
As you said, RioPlex is less than a year old, and you've raised what you've raised so far. And you said earlier you are promoting on social media now. What do you think the time frame is for you to say, okay, we're now ready to be promoting our region, the RioPlex region, in Asia, in Europe?
It's happening. It's happening already. There were a group of people that were in France a couple of weeks ago, and from France they were going to Germany. So the people that are within the RioPlex area, they're out there, and they are promoting RioPlex. I know that COSEP was out there. I know that Sergio Gracia was out there. He's the Mexico Industries newspaper. And I know that the CIL folks were out there also. So they're taking the banner. They're promoting RioPlex, but I think as we continue to evolve as an organization, RioPlex, you're going to see a greater impact going forward.
Is it a problem when we try to define ourselves, tell the world who we are and where we are, when we have different brands being put out there? Like you mentioned COSTEP, they call the region Rio South Texas, and they include Laredo. There's RioPlex, which is the Rio Grande Valley and northern Tamaulipas. And yet also, if you look on social media, you see McAllen promoting itself, come to McAllen, or it could be Far, or it could be Brownsville. Or we're all in the same region, but different entities in the valley, different EDCs, either regional or just citywide in nature. They're all doing their own thing, and we're not under one umbrella.
Yeah, that is true. And I think everyone is doing something to promote the area. But I think eventually it is a process. And eventually the work that is being done will be recognized as RioPlex. And if you're from wherever you are in that region, people will see it as RioPlex. And the reason is very clear. You can go anywhere at the city, and what do you have to promote is just your city. But you have to promote the region, whether you want to call it RioPlex, whatever you want to call it. It's still going to be RioPlex at the end of the day. And so when you work with the branding for RioPlex, now you have a greater population that you can talk about. 3.5 million. You have major educational institutions, UTRGV, A&M, STC, TSC, and TSC. You have all those major institutions, and then you can talk about we have medical school. You can talk about all the airports, all the bridge crossings. So you have to include the broader area that we have. 3.5 million sounds a lot better than 150,000. But obviously any promotion that you do is good, and if people want to promote their city by themselves, that's fine. That's welcome. And I think sometimes I think of this like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is the most popular brand, but below Coca-Cola, you have all the other sodas that go along with it, and people recognize that at the end that they belong to Coke. and so I think RioPlex is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And the reason it's not going anywhere is because the business people in the community want this to be. The day that they say we don't want this, then it's going to be a different story. But when the people that invest the most in our community want this, then we're going to be here, and it's not going to go away.
Thank you for that in-depth update on RioPlex. Very important. We discussed that. If I can bring up another topic now, another potentially great success story, the PossAble Dream. Tell us about your involvement through the task force with Region 1 Education Service Centre, led by Dr. Danny King. His plan, what he's developed is this charter school, which is going to help address the dropout recovery problem on a regional scale. Something you were pushing for. I remember we did podcasts before on that, and Danny King has picked up the baton and run with it. I mean, that's always been a big issue for him.
Absolutely. And Region 1 is part of the Prosperity Task Force. They're very much involved in everything that we're doing because they recognize the need. We don't have to go tell Dr. it is important. He knows that it's important. And so one of the things that we need to do as a region is to elevate the number of high school graduates in our communities. So, we have something anywhere between 125,000 and 140,000 individuals that are 25 and over that do not have a high school education. So we have the high school dropout recovery program. And in my mind, every high school, every school district should be involved in this program. Right now, at the last time I had an update, it was only Weslaco, FAR, PSJA, and EdCal Celsa. But every school should be doing this because this is going to help us tremendously. So they focus on individuals 18 to 25, depending on your birth date, maybe 26. So the state gives you the funding to do this. We should do this. I mean, there's so many individuals that need help, and schools have declining enrollment. This would be a great way for the school district to increase their enrollment. The other part with the PossAble Dream is that it's going to go all the way to 50 years. So that is, to me, that is extremely exciting that we're going to be able to help. Perhaps, I think the enrollment potential there is going to be anywhere from 700 to 1,000 in the local area. But he has obviously an operation in Laredo and one in Brownsville. So, and again, the state is going to fund it, has the funding for that operation. So we need to support, Dr. King as much as we can. We need to tell the community that if you go to school, they're not going to charge you to go to school. It's there for you. And we need to do this because in order for our community to continue to have greater prosperity, we need to have more individuals complete their high school education or their GEDs. And I think you noticed that STC is building a new building, and that building is going to be obviously dedicated to continuing education. And they do have a GED component in there. So all these things at the end of the day are going to help our community become even more prosperous.
Well, Mario, those are all the topics I had. Those are the broad topics I wanted to discuss. Do you feel I've left anything out? We've left anything out? Anything else you'd like to add about the task force work?
Well, I think what I would suggest is that people pay attention to this big, beautiful budget or big, beautiful bill and understand the consequences of it being implemented. We a lot of times we like to believe that we agree. So if this bill gets implemented, I'll use me as an example. I would stand to gain like $25,000. Do I need $25,000? Yeah. Not really. If they give it to me, well, I'll spend all of it the first day. I'll spend all of it. But here is a situation that's directed at a particular population. But we need to understand that it's going to impact someone else at the same time. It's going to impact the business community a lot. So, if you agree with it, fine. If you don't agree with this bill, then, I encourage people to, write your letters and make your phone calls and explain to people why this is a good idea or it's not a good idea. At the end of the day, the way I personally see it, it's not going to be such a great idea because if we have the situation that we're in right now where we're at 27% poverty rate, this is going to, go a different direction. And although we're doing everything that we're doing to bring additional jobs, there's going to be an interim there that more people will be impacted, especially in the food security and the medical situation, the housing. So anything that you can think about, they're going to be impacted. So who's going to cover that vacuum? And someone said, you cannot have a bake sale and a cookie sale and make the difference. This just doesn't work this way. So it has to be something really thought out carefully because it will impact a lot of people, not only the people that need the most help, it's going to impact the business community as well.
I'm pleased you brought that back up. I know I said this, we covered everything, but you bring that subject back up because what you're saying there reminds me, just last week, Congressman Henry Cuellar held a round table at the Starr County Memorial Hospital. And one of the doctors there, Javier Margot, was explaining that it's okay to say we want to give tax breaks to people, we want to cut costs, we want to cut inefficiencies, etc. And there was a sheet that the congressman handed out from the Texas Hospital Association, which showed Texas's Medicaid program is the most efficient and leanest in the country. But Dr. Margot pointed out that you can make those cuts so there's less Medicaid coverage, and therefore, if people become more ill because they're not going to the doctor's offices or the hospital for treatment, then you run the risk of having a high percentage of the population that's unwell, infected, and that can affect those that do have health insurance that are benefiting, that are benefiting from the bill. So if you don't educate the whole community, it's not going to be good for the long run of the economy. And likewise, if you haven't got a healthy community, and because another doctor at the time there, very well-known, long-established doctor, Dr. Falcon, Antonio Falcon, he said, I don't think they understand the border region. To which I said, well, but actually, perhaps they do, perhaps they do realize in Congress that a high percentage of this community is undocumented, and that perhaps they don't even care. It doesn't matter whether that segment of the population gets health care in any way. And Margot then responded on camera and said, but it's going to impact all of us if certain segments of the community goes without health care.
Yeah, but see, I have to go back and remember what I said, that for every one job, governmental job, it creates 2 jobs in the community. So if you take one out, it takes two out. So although you may not fall into this realm of activities, the fact that they take this money out is going to impact you. And so people need to understand that part. Oh, yeah, fine, take it out. No, they take it out. It impacts 2 other people that are not involved in that equation. So you need to understand the whole equation before you support something. And that's all. We encourage people to get involved because this will have an impact on everybody.
And in terms of the fairness of the argument, if there's any leader in the community that supports that bill and that supports our elected officials that voted for it, they're welcome to come on the show and explain why it's a good thing, for sure.
Absolutely.
But Mario, thank you so much for the updates in so many different areas that the task force is involved in. We really appreciate you coming by.